showers carrying into the night for Friday. Morning showers continue. Things start to clear out in the afternoon, setting up for a nice Saturday. Much cooler, though, with a high of just 45. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome into Sports Talk Media Network. Happy National Signing Day. Number 2, it's not as big as number 1, though there were some big players out there today to be signed. In South Carolina, got one of the biggest ones. What a day for Shane Beamer and South Carolina to win a major recruiting battle with plenty of national attention. And if you were following closely the Nick Harbor situation, it was a roller coaster ride for fans on a number of sides. If you're reading stuff on the internet and trying to keep up with things that are happening, and people were all over the map trying to figure out which way this one was going to go. And I didn't really know until I talked to Mr. Harbor at about 12:20 this afternoon. If you follow us on Twitter, I put out a tweet after talking to him. And at that time, there's something he said, it kind of clicked with me. And he said his son and his mother, the son's mother, his wife, were away talking in another room. And this was at the school prior to the 1 o'clock announcement. Actually came about 1:10. And he said that he mentioned Shane Beamer and the relationship and the impact Shane Beamer had on his son. And I asked him about, basically, is this now a highest bidding thing? And his response was, you can't put a price on my son. Money is not an issue. We're not talking money. It's about where I can take my son and leave my son and know he's going to be cared for. And then he immediately brought up Shane Beamer and the relationship. And he said the things that Beamer had done with his son had impacted his son. It was right then and there, really the first time that I felt like South Carolina had a really good chance to win this recruiting battle. And thus they did. And they add a major international talent to their football roster and their track roster. He's an internationally acclaimed sprinter. Listening to Curtis Fry, the USC track coach, talk about him. People know about him all over the world from a track standpoint because he's 6'6", he's 225, and I mean he runs incredible times in the sprints, and just a freak of an athlete. I mean I think the closest thing you can compare him to at South Carolina would be Jadeveon Clowney. Though different types. Clowney was a lot heavier coming out of high school. Now Clowney was pretty fast for a guy his size, but he's not this fast. He's not world-class sprinter speed. So it was funny. Shane Beamer talked about getting a audio message from Harbor at 2:57 this morning. And whatever was in that message, it didn't sound good to him because he thought at that time, okay, this is not trending our way. And he went back to sleep and he woke up later, and those audio messages disappear after X amount of time. They don't stay in your phone. And he couldn't find the message again. He said he thought he had a dream, or as he put it, a nightmare. Then he went and talked to some of his coaches and found out, yes, indeed, he had gotten the message. And at that point, it was not trending South Carolina's way. He didn't think, but he stayed on the phone. He continued to talk to Harbor and to others around him. And at some point in time, it just clicked with the Harbors that South Carolina was going to be the place for him. And He signed with them right after announcing a very simple announcement on ESPN2, nothing fancy. Did not make any of the other schools look bad, just said, I'm going to go to South Carolina, and answered the questions, and that was that. Now, tonight, we're loaded up, as you might imagine, but if you want to jump on board here early on to express your reaction to that, shocked, not shocked, blown away, can't believe it, whatever you, however you want to describe it, we'll take your phone calls, 888-898-2525. That's the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number in the Sports Talk. We'll bring you comments from Beamer after the bottom of the hour. Then at 7:05, we're scheduled to have Azuka Harbor and his son, Nick Harbor, assuming the son can join us. But I've talked with the dad and asked for both, and he said yes. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, and everything goes well, 7:05, we'll have the two of them on with us. Mr. Harbor is a terrific fellow. He has a fairly heavy accent, and so can be a little bit hard to understand at times, but I think we'll get through it just fine. And then Dabo Sweeney today, he didn't really have much to talk about from a recruiting standpoint because they didn't do anything. They signed their entire class, signed them up in December. And so today was a day just to reflect on where they are now, to formally introduce Garrett Riley as the new offensive coordinator, to let Garrett Riley talk to the media for the first time. They did announce that Walker Parks is out for the spring, going to have some surgery. And so that's two offensive linemen who are out for the spring. But Riley talked about wanting to be physical and fast on offense. And we'll hear from him, and we'll hear from Dabo Sweeney tonight as well. So we got all that going on for you. Just to tell you, I mean, from a local standpoint, except for the other schools signing players, and we'll get into that as well. Like I said, Clemson had nothing. South Carolina also signed Elijah Caldwell, who'd previously committed to them, the receiver out of Northwestern, and they were very happy to get him. And then Xavier Hardy, the defensive end out of Macon, Georgia, who's been committed to South Carolina, signed with East Mississippi State Junior College. No, it's just East Mississippi Junior College, where he plans, if everything goes well, to join the Gamecocks after the 2024 season. So 2 years, 23-24 at the junior college, and his hope is to enroll at South Carolina in what would be January of 25, and have at least 2 years of eligibility. But that's down the road, but that is his plan. So otherwise, it's just been a pretty normal day. Tom Brady retired. And let's see what else is going on as we welcome Chris Bergen. And, you know, Tom Brady, I was thinking about this. He must not have gotten a lot of love on his National Signing Day back in 1980 something, whenever that was, because now this is twice he's retired on National Signing Day. Like, he needs the attention and grabs the attention away from the high schoolers signing on National Signing Day.
Well, he went from a total unknown, right, when he was signing with Michigan to now perhaps the greatest football player of all time. So I don't know why he would need to steal their thunder. And I think it's more of a situation that he realized. I think the Dallas Cowboys showed him it was time to head out and do something else and go into broadcasting. And Phil, it looks like he's actually going to make more money thanks to Fox doing broadcasting than he ever did for football. So I don't know why he'd be all that upset to retire.
No, except that competitive itch. I mean, this is a guy that needs to scratch that competitive itch. So, you know, maybe in his mind now he wants to compete against Aikman and Romo to be the best of the major national announcers, former quarterbacks as well. You know, can I be the best guy at that? And time will tell. How much work will he put into it? How much does he need help from a broadcasting standpoint? I mean, certainly he's got the knowledge of the game, but yeah, how are you going to bring that personality? The thing about Romo didn't need it. Aikman's a little bit dry and could probably use a little sprucing up here and there. But he's just like an old shoe. You've had him for so many years, it feels comfortable. Romo needed nothing. He's got the personality that he exudes, and it comes out. We'll see what he brings to the table, and see where it goes from there. But yeah, he's certainly going to be well compensated.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady has got a lot of work to do from the broadcasting standpoint. Props to him. I mean, if you were going to pay me $300-something million to work on Sports Talk, I would never miss a show. I would work constantly.
You wouldn't be taking flights to Shreveport, Louisiana, through Atlanta, and visiting with the Big Show when you're sitting in the airport, huh?
How about that? That was one of the crazy. This has been the wildest road trip, and we've still got a day to go before we actually play the game here. This is one of the better road trips I have been on. I'm actually coming to you from inside the Fat Ewing Coliseum, which is the third oldest building in the Sun Belt. Was constructed back in 1971, and it was constructed at a time where every arena was round. You know, had the big dome on the top, and everything was round, like the old Charlotte Coliseum downtown, which it looks identical to the old Charlotte Coliseum, and it has not, unfortunately, from ULM's perspective, has not been upgraded all that much. Still has offices in this building, and just an old school basketball arena. But yeah, going through the Atlanta airport yesterday, I sent a picture to Phil and Pat and Smitty last night. We're walking through the airport. And I happened to glance over, sitting at one of the terminals, waiting on his next flight. I said, I know that guy. That guy, I recognize that guy. Wait a minute, that's the Big Show. And I was like, it can't be. So I pulled up his bio page, and sure enough, it was the Big Show of WWE wrestling fame. I think his actual name is Paul White.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, now that he's transitioned out to All Elite Wrestling, that he's actually using his regular name, not his stage name. And so sure enough, the players got pictures with him. They were thrilled because these guys follow wrestling a whole lot more now than I do. I used to be into professional wrestling. I'm not anymore. And, of course, they told Coach Ellis that the Big Show was down the hallway. And he's like, where is he? I'll go, who? First off, he tried to play it off as if he didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
And so he goes down there to talk to him. And sure enough, Cliff Ellis, who knows everyone, and I've told him he needs to write a book because as much basketball knowledge as he has, it's only surpassed by his Rolodex because this guy knows everybody. And Phil, you've been around Coach Ellis long enough to know the stories are true. But he walks up to him, starts talking to him, and he told me afterwards that he remembers bringing him on a recruiting visit to Clemson. He wasn't sure. He didn't remember them offering the Big Show a chance to play, and he ultimately played at Wichita State, but brought him on a recruiting visit with Eldon Campbell. Now, I would say from a Clemson perspective, if you had to choose between the two, they picked the right guy.
Yes.
Because Eldon turned out to be just an amazing ACC basketball player. But, I mean, it goes to show you that he knows everybody. And so he talked to him for a little while. And finally, Big Show recognized who Coach Ellis was. It had been that long since he had seen him. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know you. And the players got a big kick out of that. So I'm convinced if you ever go through the Atlanta airport and you could sit there long enough, you would meet and see every person you've ever known in your life through that airport at some point in time.
I also remember him because he was a football player too. And I want to say it was King Academy down there in the Aiken area where he grew up, King Academy. And I think one time, if I went back through my notes, I bet you I could find a phone number for him from his high school days. Because I think there was one time I made a phone call to him when he was considered a football prospect. Then, as you mentioned, he ended up doing basketball and going to Wichita State. So, all right, glad you made it out there in good shape. Of course, last night, Clemson was upset at Boston College. That was hugely surprising. And Tigers just didn't play well. And South Carolina lost at home to Mississippi State. A bad Mississippi State team came in and played better than a bad USC team. And, you know, a lot of things happened with USC last night that we've seen throughout the season. G.G. Jackson had a good offensive game from the standpoint of scoring, I think, 15 points, but he had 0 rebounds. He had 0 rebounds.
That can't happen.
No, you would think he would get accidentally 1 rebound. He had 0 rebounds. Now, they did get 14 rebounds from their vastly improving big man in the middle, who has really been the guy that's given them, I think, game in and game out here of late, some of the best effort, and he continues to get better. Josh Gray, he had 14 rebounds last night. That was a career high, but they didn't shoot it well. A lot of turnovers once again.
Way too many.
Just another, overall poor showing of the Gamecocks. Now they get Arkansas at home on Saturday afternoon. So this season continues to, spin down the drain, which maybe was kind of expected with the complete turnover for the most part of the roster with a new coach. And I mean, look, I don't think that Lamont Paris is getting beat down or anything like that. I think he's trying to establish his turf, establish his culture, and realizes that he's got to recruit a couple of more classes of guys that play the way he wants to play overall before he can put on display the kind of basketball team that he imagines having at South Carolina.
I would agree, but you can't have, and I don't care whether he'd been in his first season or his 10th season, like Frank Martin was, you can't have your best two players have 12 combined turnovers like they did last night. It goes back to a situation we were talking about Monday, and I'm not referencing the officials. The other reason that they have struggled, and you brought this up coming out of the Georgia game, 12 turnovers from Michie Johnson and Gigi Jackson, and they scored 21 points off those turnovers. Well, you want to know where the difference in your game was last night? That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And in a 66-51 ball game, they take care of the basketball, especially Michie Johnson. As good a shooter as he can be at times, you just cannot cough the basketball up the way he is doing with that great frequency and hope to be successful. And again, it goes back, and it's nothing they can do. But I think this South Carolina team, for Gamecock fans, may be looking for a little silver lining here. I think they would be much better with Ibrahim Adiba available to play, because he would be your true point guard that would handle the basketball. And I think cut down on some of those turnovers. He should be available for them next year. Now you're going to lose all these guys off of this year's team, so you're basically going to be, it looks like, for the most part, starting from scratch. But, yeah, that's something they've got to iron out if they ever want to be competitive the remainder of the season. And the Clemson game is just that's head-scratching there,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't see that one coming at all. That's a team that Clemson should win, should beat badly, and not struggle the way they did last night. And that's going to be another one of those losses. They don't have many. But of the few losses that they have, that's going to be another one, Phil, that falls in the bad loss category.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to hurt them in the net rankings.
Well, 3 of their losses were to teams with really bad records.
Mm-hmm.
Boston College, South Carolina, Loyola Chicago.
Yeah.
That'll come back to bite them when it comes to tournament seeding time. Pat, real quick, what you got?
For the Carolina game, first of all, 2 stats that stuck out to me that were just a bit head-scratching were, first of all, they were outscored in the paint 42-16. You combine that with they were being outscored on fast break points 19-2, and that 2 wasn't until the last couple of minutes of the game. So there's no real effort to push the ball down the court in a fast break scenario. But then once they're in the half-court set, they're also not methodically working the ball inside. So those 2 things just don't quite align for me. And I don't know what the answer is to that. It just seems like once they're in the half-court set, they're just passing the ball around until the shot clock gets in the single digits, and then whoever has the ball hoists up a three-pointer. But then there's no effort to push the ball down the court. And I mean, Mississippi State also had 16 turnovers, but that didn't lead to hardly any fast break points for the Gamecocks. And maybe you hit the nail on the head there without a true point guard out there, Michie Johnson being looked at as more of a shooter than a facilitator. Maybe that is hurting them quite a bit. And then the Clemson game. Quite frankly, the Tigers are lucky they didn't get beat by 20 plus. I mean, they went 13 minutes in the second half going into inside the final minute of the ball game without a field goal.
17 straight misses.
Absolutely.
That's
2 of their last 19
17
games.
straight
Wild.
misses.
And they still were within striking distance until the last 25 seconds or so. But Brownell, I'm sure we'll hear some audio from him later. One comment he said was, quote, oh, wait, now I don't have it in front of me. Oh, shoot. Well, he talked about how he just couldn't get his guys going all night long. He took the blame, but he talked about how he just could not seem to get the guys up and ready to play all game, especially in the second half.
Okay, let's jump to your phone calls. 888-898-2525 is our phone number. Then we'll hear some comments from Shane Beamer. And then top of the next hour, the Harbors. And then the following part of the show after that, we'll hear from the Sweeneys. Sweeney and his new offensive coordinator, Garrett Riley. The Sweeney team. I just call them the Sweeneys, though.
The Sweeneys.
I just want to call it the Sweeneys. Let's go to RJ in Columbia. Get things rolling tonight. If you're a Gamecock fan, I mean, let's face it. This is one of those rare occasions in recruiting where you had deep suspense and mystery on a big timer. And you won it this time. RJ, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, good, Corn. Hey, guys, how are y'all? Corn, I kind of wanted to talk with you about Harbor as a really big get for Shane. But I did want to let you guys get into discussion about this guy. You know, he is listed as an athlete, and in the film I've watched, he's a much better defensive end prospect than anything else. And here you have a guy who. And first of all, he's listed as a tight end. That's going to be 7 tight ends. I don't know if you know this. 7 tight ends that they're bringing in.
Well, let me tell you right off the bat here, they're going to play him at wide receiver. Well, he's going to be a wide receiver because That's what he said today after his press conference. He wants to be a receiver, wide receiver. And Beamer said, it makes no sense to put him in a tight end spot, hand in the dirt, and block a defensive end. They're going to split him out, play wide receiver. And I'm sure that was all part of I got a feeling that might have been one of the questions. Remember yesterday when I had the story with Mr. Harbor and he said that they talked to South Carolina, got some questions answered once again. I got a feeling that might have been part of it because at first they had Sterling Lucas recruiting him a good bit, the defensive ends coach, and then Jody Wright, the tight ends coach. But here at the end of the day, they're going to play him at wide receiver. And I mean, my goodness, a guy that large who can run that well, how fearful is that going to be for defensive backs when they line up against him?
Well, I don't think he's that good of a receiver. I mean, I've watched his film, and he's not a very good route runner. And what kind of weight program are they going to put him in to keep him at 225? I mean, this kid could be 270 easy. And I'm just not too sure how much football he wants to play rather than track. And I just think, I think we need to hold off. Let's see what's really going to happen here. Because I'm telling you right now, defensive end is his natural position. You might have another DeCarrion Joyner situation, okay, where he wants to play quarterback, but he really never got to be a quarterback. So I just think it's going to be a wait and see situation with him. He's got the speed, he's got the size, but I have some reservations about it. Just wanted to ask you guys about that. Thanks, Corn.
Thank you. Well, those are great observations, Chris. I cannot dispute any of that. But again, look, he's a high school kid coming off of high school coaching, and he's going to get college coaching, and he's going to be in a great nutrition program and a great weight training program. Everything that you can find, everything that you can get, he's going to have at his disposal. And he'll probably put on a little bit of weight, but he's also, got to be careful, as Curtis Fry said today, the track coach. He can't put on too much weight because you put on that weight, of course, and it slows you down, obviously. And the track is very important, and how they handle that is going to be key to how much he enjoys his time at South Carolina. But I believe working with Curtis Fry and with Harbor that they're going to make all the accommodations necessary to make sure he's able to do his football, but also cover his track needs as well.
Did I misread some comments from him earlier today? And it's very possible, but I thought I read somewhere that he's hoping to maybe cut down a little bit on his weight, partly obviously for track, but now that they're looking at moving him away from tight end to perhaps playing more wide receiver, he wanted to be a little slimmer. Is that not the case?
Could be. Go the other direction. If and when we have him on 705, we'll ask him that question.
I think who you ought to chat with is his mother from reading the stuff you did today. And I thought you did a terrific job covering the recruiting of him. So props to you, Phil. But just it seemed like she was steering him in one direction or the other. Wherever she was most comfortable was where Nick was going. It sounded like the dad said, all right, look, son, this is you and your mom. You go decide. I'll be happy wherever you go. And it sounded like that Shane Beamer had won her over, and that was the linchpin to getting him to come to South Carolina.
I think that was a big part of it. We'll ask him. The dog, Boomer, was a big part. The mom loved the dog, Beamer's dog, Boomer. In fact, Beamer said today he was afraid he was going to have to tell his family that they were shipping Boomer off to D.C. to go live with the Harbors because she liked the dog so much. All right, quickly, we get back to your phone calls, and we go to Kevin, who's in a traffic jam in Greenville County. Boy, that's unique, a traffic jam on I-85, huh? Yeah. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Hey, doing well, man. Great show tonight.
Thank you.
Huge signing to beat Michigan and Oregon and Maryland and Miami to get Nicholas Harbor. Can't say enough about Beamer recruiting. And, a lot of this goes back to Dowell Loggins as well. I want to give him credit. He has some input in this. And listen, this kid wants to be a receiver, play him at receiver. He wants to be a safety, play him at safety. At South Carolina, we're all about making your dreams come true. Whatever you feel like you can do and whatever you want to be, that's what we're going to encourage you to be. We're not going to put you somewhere that you're not happy, right? And the track team, man, what a blessing for these guys. They haven't had the competitive athletes the last few years that they had back in the mid-'90s and early 2000s with, runners like Terrence Trammell coming through there. So kudos to them for getting this guy. Wide receiver is a huge area of need for our team next year. We've got one great receiver coming back, a couple backups. I think it's perfect to put him at that position. Coach Stepp, one of the finest receiver coaches in the country. We're also looking at, getting Mazio Bennett out of Greenville High School next year. I mean, this could be a real boom for us. My thing is, I hope this guy stays with us the full 4 years. I hope somebody doesn't come along in a couple years when he's excelling and come up with some NIL money to take him somewhere else.
Right.
I'm so disappointed.
We have to jump in. Hang on. We'll be right back after this break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy and cooler with a low dipping to 43. Tomorrow, we'll warm up to 55, but bring the umbrella for the afternoon as we'll get showers carrying into the night. For Friday, morning showers continue. Things start to clear out in the afternoon, setting up for a nice Saturday. Much cooler, though, with a high of just 45. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. futurescholar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the Federal Reserve extended its fight against high inflation Wednesday by raising its key interest rate by 1/4 point, its 8th hike since March. And the Fed signaled that even though inflation is easing, it remains high enough to require further rate hikes. The FBI has searched President Joe Biden's Rehoboth Beach, Delaware home as part of its investigation into potential high-level mishandling of classified records. Biden's attorney says that agents didn't find any classified documents during the Wednesday search, but did take some handwritten notes and other materials relating to Biden's time as vice president for review. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 6 points. The Nasdaq rose 231. The S&P 500 advanced 42. Oil down $2.02 to $76.85 a barrel. This is SRN News.
I get frustrated when I see people I care about getting scammed or at least misled. Some of these national spots, some of these celebrity endorsements about Medicare, they can be really misleading. I've worked with Tim Hanberry and the team at Medicare Blueprint for some time now. They've helped me so much, and in more ways than one. First, they've eased a lot of stress when it comes to helping my family find the right insurance for ourselves and in the recent past with my mom and for many friends. Plus, they've saved us so much money by educating me on what we can do to get the best health insurance at the best price. Bet you think I've had to pay Medicare Blueprint and Tim a ton of money for all the help they've given? Nope, not a penny. Their service for you is just as free as it's been to me. If you are a parent that's approaching 65 years of age, or if you're coming off an employer plan, let Medicare Blueprint go to work for you. I'm not the only one offering my endorsement for their incredible help. Visit their website, MedicareBlueprint.com. Read testimonials from people all over the Midlands. If Tim can help you find a better plan, let him. If he can't, he'll be the first to tell you. Online, MedicareBlueprint.com, or call him, 708-7398, 708-7398.
What is the lie that's told the most? Now I got you thinking. I believe it's when you click that you read the small print when you updated your smartphone. Who has the time to read that small print? Sometimes you just trust people. Well, there's a little bit of a fine print misdirection going on here in Columbia that you need to know about. It's been brought to my attention that there's a roofing company here in Columbia that's asking homeowners to sign a form that allows them to check out their roof. Well, in the fine print, it says if you don't use that company, you have to pay them $1,000. Really? It's right there in the small print. You know, while some of these unscrupulous roofing companies are getting reported to the Better Business Bureau, as they should, Bergen Roofing was just voted the best roofing company in the state by the South Carolina Business Magazine, as they should be. Look, when a company like Bergen tells you they don't take a dime until the customer's satisfied, you don't have to worry about the small print. Call the company voted best roofing company by the South Carolina Business Magazine. Bergen Roofing, 798-ROOF, 798-7663.
Hi, this is Chris Neely from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me Monday afternoons at 5:30 as I team up with Kev for Kids First. We'll tackle the issues facing our schools, pointing out the positives with our students and teachers. Kids First, Mondays at 5:30 on The Point.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Okay, it's National Signing Day night here on Sports Talk, and it hasn't been a busy day in terms of volume, but it was a busy day in terms of bigness. It's a big day. It's a big day for South Carolina. They were one of the top teams in the country. They only signed the two players. One had been previously committed. The other took it to the wire, Nicholas Harbor, and the nation was looking in, and the nation's probably thinking, well, he's going to Oregon, Nike. He's going to Michigan. It is Michigan. He's going to stay home and go to Maryland. He's going to go play for the U. Anything but South Carolina when you look at that group of five. And he went with his heart. He went with the guy who had recruited him when he was a freshman in high school when he was at Oklahoma. Beamer first started recruiting Harbor when he was at Oklahoma and kept it up the entire time when he came to South Carolina. And it's a long, 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 long process with a lot of curves, a lot of emotional ups and downs. But the end of the day, he got his man. I look at this, and I know there was Clowney back in the day for South Carolina. I know there was Lattimore. Those were turning points in the Spurrier era. I go back to Sweeney. He always cited getting C.J. Spiller as a turning point. This might be the turning point for this program because, as they like to say, great players like to play with great players. And there's no doubt, and Beamer made the comment that his phone was blowing up with text messages from 24 recruits after getting this commitment from a guy like this.
Well, and because of that, Phil, and the December signing period, I think, has taken a lot of steam out of February for sure. And obviously, when you have a program like Clemson who doesn't sign anybody today, that shows you how important December is. But how big a deal, though, do you think it is that South Carolina gets a signee like this, on a limited day now that February is not as important, it doesn't appear, as December, to be able to carry them some momentum and also maybe put them in the spotlight where this would have been a huge signing normally, but it would have been gobbled up among all the other big signees of the day. But now today, this one pretty much seems to stand on its own. How big a deal do you think that is for South Carolina from a recruiting perspective?
Huge. Like I'm saying, a lot of people were watching, and there weren't many big name. You had one go to Arizona, the quarterback, remember, who broke the deal with Florida. He ended up at Arizona State. And you had Colorado got a big timer. There were a handful of big timers, but this was one of the national elites. And to have him pretty much all to your own mid-afternoon, 1 o'clock, and see him, if you're Beamer and company, see him put on the Gamecock hat on ESPN2 and have the people there in that gym applaud him. That was big. That was big for the program. Let's go back to
And I cannot believe that Beamer was able to go back to sleep after he got that text message at 2 o'clock in the morning and it said it didn't sound good. Knowing how these coaches are and how much they worry about every little detail, I give him props if he was legitimately able to go back to sleep worrying about the fact that he may have lost a huge get for his program.
Well, he thought it was a nightmare, like he said. And he was trying to, sleep it off, I guess. Okay, back to the phones. 888-898-2525 is the phone number. And we want to give him a chance to wrap up because we had to hit that hard break. And so we were talking to Kevin. Hopefully he's out of that traffic jam up in Greenville. Kevin, back at you for a couple more moments. Go ahead.
Hey, I am out that traffic jam. Just hope nobody got hurt. There was a few overturned vehicles.
Oh, no.
Hey, but that's what kind of things will happen when you hear that Nicholas Harbor is coming to South Carolina. These people must have been in shock while they were driving their cars and just lost all control. Because, I mean, we're that excited about having this guy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it goes to beating Tennessee, beating Clemson, and showing up against Notre Dame. I was at that game in Jacksonville. The crowd was rocking. I mean, I had friends that watched it on TV and said it felt like a home game in Williams-Brice Stadium. So definitely huge. Christmas came early this year for Gamecock fans. We're going to support him. And, let's not forget Cam Pringle. That's another huge signing for us. The number one offensive tackle in the rotation. I think, that might have had some bearing on it as well. We just got a lot of good talent that came in with Shane Beamer. And you know what? I'm going to be the first to admit, last year, I was one of the people that questioned the hiring, right? Why are we hiring a guy that had no head coach experience? Man, how quickly have we forgotten about that? Definitely moving in the right direction. Full support. Going to pack the stands out this year. Got a monster schedule, and we're going to play the best football we've played in the last decade this coming season. I just hate Nicholas Harbor doesn't play basketball and baseball as well.
Yeah.
This guy could be an all-around year guy for us. So thanks for taking my call. You guys have a great show. Give me a lot to think about other than what's going on in the weird world today. So definitely nice to plug into you guys on weeknights and get a refreshing view of something else other than what the daily news brings us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the phone call. Really appreciate that. And the other thing he's going to do, of course, is elevate the track program nationally. I mean, he's going to bring in people from all over the country to watch him. He's going to run in all kind of important track meets wearing the Gamecock colors, and that's going to be extra special for Curtis Fry. Curtis Fry said he's 71 years old, and he's a championship-level coach. He's 71 years old. He says people talk to him about retiring, and he's like, you know what? I've got a generational sprinter in my program now. He says, I'm not retiring while this guy is here. He says, this is
I can't blame him.
Yeah, this is not a once in a lifetime, because Kevin mentioned, I forgot this guy, Terrence Trammell, who was a great player, a great track star at South Carolina. But I don't know that he's in this category. I don't know much about track. It was fascinating listening to Coach Fry break it down from a technical standpoint, from a track standpoint. Now, I don't know if this is fact or he was just talking off his head, but he said, like, in the 100 meters, I guess he was talking about, he said Harbor runs 23 miles an hour and everybody else runs 22 miles an hour. He said,
that's huge.
Harbor uses 57 strides to cover the distance. Everybody else needs 61 strides because he's so tall. He's 6'5", 6'6". And
how Pat runs.
I've seen Pat. Pat runs like a gazelle. Yeah. But and I've he talked about other things, other aspects about power and weight and all this kind of stuff that goes into track stuff that I didn't even think about. So that's going to be interesting to watch him bring all that attention to the Gamecock track program as well. But first and foremost, the fans want to see him on that football field, making catches, breaking tackles, and taking it to the house. All right, let's go to 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, by the way. Since 2002, more than 2.1 million lottery-funded scholarships, such as Live Hope and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships, have been awarded to South Carolina students. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education. Wins playing for fun is a win for education. We go to, no doubt, a happy man tonight, Gamecock Larry over in Swansea. I imagine, I don't know, this probably takes a few years. Well, I mean, in a negative way, when you say takes a few years off your life, that means you were worried about things. But I got to believe this adds a few years for you there, Larry, as your excitement level for Gamecock football must have gone up quite a bit today.
Yes, sir. I tell you, my blood sugar been running all kind of crazy ways for the last couple of days. And yesterday, last night, I kept talking to my Gamecock Research Committee chief, and he had me kind of worried. At about 11 o'clock, I just finally turned over and went to sleep. But this morning, about 3:30, I don't know what happened. I just woke up And I got up, and I went in there and got my book out. And I wrote, February the 1st, 3:30, he's going to be a Gamecock. You ain't going to believe me, Phil, but if I could have called you at 3:30 this morning, I'd have called you. I just had a feeling. And I listened to all of them, and they kept saying, well, he's going to Oregon. He's going to Oregon. And I don't know, I forgot his name. Anyway, he said, yeah, he's going to Oregon. And so, but I knew better. But my blood pressure's running straight, and my blood sugar's all right. But I tell you, we got the attention of I would say the nation. All them big colleges. Man, we went against all of them. Because the ones that he wasn't on the list, on his top 5 list, whatever you call it, everybody else wanted him. Everybody wanted him.
Oh, yeah.
And guess what? The little old Gamecock, South Carolina, got him. Beamer ball is on the way. Go Gamecocks, and I'll tell you what, we're going to be in the Final Four in 2024. Go Gamecocks.
All right, Larry. They're doing some good stuff with that medicine over there, I tell you. You know, as Larry was talking, I was thinking, what a defensive nightmare this could be. A guy this tall who you can put in the slot or even put out wide. So you're going to put a 6'1", a 6 foot, a 5'11", maybe tops, a 6'2" corner on him. I mean, or are you going to bring down a safety? You can't put a linebacker on him, of course.
No, it can't run with him.
Then again, you might find a corner who can run with him, maybe not too many safeties. But can you imagine him, running a post pattern and getting inside position and just getting by the guy and opening up a couple of feet on him and Rattler putting the ball right on the money? How many big plays you can expect down the field with that long frame? Do you know how much Rattler can overthrow him, and he should be able to go and get the ball with that frame?
You know who has to be the happiest person aside from Gamecock Larry? And by the way, Larry, if you want to call Phil at 3:30 in the morning, he's awake. So you could have called him.
Most nights I am.
About that.
Last night I was down. I was down for the night.
But the happiest person has to be Juice Wells, right? Because now what are you going to do? You're going to double team me? That's fine. Deal with Harbor on your own. You're going to double team him? All right. Then how are you going to handle me? The passing game for South Carolina, and Dowell Loggins has got to think he's falling into heaven here. I mean, the passing game for the Gamecocks should be outstanding. If they can find any semblance of a run game just to get some balance, that offense should be terrific next year.
Yeah. I got to believe a guy like Lavassier Carroll has got to be a pretty good running back. He hasn't had much of a chance, but I got to think, that room is pretty open right now. And I got to think this spring is his opportunity to show what he's got. He's either got it at this level or he doesn't. If he doesn't make it happen this spring with the opportunity he'll have, then he just doesn't have it. But his recruiting was pretty heavily, and they liked him coming out of high school. He was good enough to go to Georgia. They moved him to DB, and South Carolina took him off the portal as a running back. Let's see what he's got this spring. Maybe he can help in that running backs room. All right, let's go to the break, and we'll come back with more calls on the other side. Phone number is 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number for you here on the Sports Talk. As we go to the break, I want to remind you that you got summer vacation coming up. Maybe you want to get away someplace this spring. Head down to Pawleys Island, head down to the beach, Garden City, points like that. Give Jimmy Smith a call at PawleysVacationRentals.com. James Smith Realty, PawleysVacationRentals.com. The phone number is 843-237-4246. Give Jimmy a call. Let him take good care of you. 843-237-4246.
Think big. Life-changing. I'm talking education. Inventive. Next level education. Wake up. For 20 years, education has received billions in funding. Where, you ask? Right here, across our state, in your own backyard. Who has done this? Well, if you've ever played the lottery, that would be you. Thank you. The South Carolina Education Lottery. When you play, we all win.
Score a touchdown with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Relax with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Everything I do, I do it big. Yeah, screaming master. When I pulled off the line, that's I keep up in my town. When you see me, you know everything.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. 888-898-2525 is our phone number. Let's go to, is it Hank in Columbia next? Hank, welcome into Sports Talk. Good to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Corn. A couple of things, Corn. Terrence Trammell now, he was that type of guy. Yeah, remember Terrence Trammell has 2 or 3 medals from the Olympics. He ran in multiple Olympics.
Okay.
So he is that type of guy.
Was he that type of guy coming in, though? Was he developed by Curtis Fry once he? No, was he developed once he got here?
Oh yeah. He was developed. Yeah, Fry was putting out. He had a number of Olympians actually on the girl side and the guy side during that time that they were coming through. Yeah, Fry is one of the best. And I bet you y'all were learning a lot about track just listening to him.
Oh, absolutely. Listen to him starting to break things down technically. I was amazed and I mean, you're amazed because you don't hear this kind of talk every day. I'm sure he sits around his office talking to other track people, and this is common language for them. But he's talking about things that I'd never even thought about when looking at a sprinter. As I was talking to Smitty, Smitty looks like a great sprinter. Have you ever seen Smitty? Right, Chris? He looks like a great sprinter. He's 135 pounds soaking wet. And we're like, sprinters, you just stand at the line. When they say go, you take off and you run. And the fastest one wins. But there's a whole lot of science and methodology involved in that.
Oh, yeah. As I told you before, there's a lot more to track than what people think. They kind of see the finished products when they show up to track meet. But one thing also, I think Harbor's like one of the things we missed the last couple of years was having a bigger receiver that you could just wall up and throw it to at times to see if you could run away from somebody, and he will provide that for the guy that was sitting there wondering about him. He just, you think about some of the guys, Calvin Johnson, some of these other guys that are in the league now, that are the guy that plays for, I think I want to say Seattle, the big guy there that came from Ole Miss.
No, we were just talking about him. Pat was just talking about him. That's Metcalf, right? You were just talking about him.
Oh, yeah, I was making that. Yeah, Hank, and if you were making the comparison there, I mean, that's great minds think alike. I mean, they are both eerily similar size. Metcalf's 6'4", 235, and Harbor is 6'5", 225. DK Metcalf, a lot of people may not remember, he was a track star coming out of high school, didn't really do it.
He wasn't a receiver also. The guy who was talking earlier, he wasn't a receiver when he came out of high school. He came out as a track guy. They taught him how to catch.
That's exactly right. Now look what he's doing in the NFL. And he also, just a couple years ago, was trying to compete for the 100 meters for USA in the Olympics.
He went to the trial. Yeah, I remember he went to the trial. So that's that. But Corn, I wanted to say something about the basketball. As y'all were mentioning that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Edema, like Chris said, was going to be that point guard. And so basically, when you look at Misha Johnson, he's a two-guard playing point guard because of the lack of personnel on the team. So it's not going to get better. A lot of people don't remember, Misha Johnson's underclassmen. He can still come back next year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going to be going anywhere. But he's really a two-guard playing point guard. So you have those problems with the turnovers. And I hate his kind of YOLO shooting from the sometimes, but it's just what it is. And the reason that they don't throw the ball down low, Corn, I know you attended a many of those games. Gray has gotten better in the last so many weeks, but Verdonk, that was starting in the center, he never looks at the basket. Whenever he gets it down low, he kind of looks to throw it back out to somebody. He's only in the last 2 games even looked at the basket. So you can't continue to throw it down in there for people who don't have in their mindset to take the shot. So I think that's why they've been playing this kind of 4 out, 5 out. And I think Paris is just piecing together what he can piece together for this year to be competitive until he can get the right guys in. Because as Mike Morgan said on an earlier show, if you took those guys out, who are you going to put in from the bench that's going to supposed to be better?
True. That's true. That's right. I mean, and we've talked about that before. I mean, they're trying to get through this season with the players that he's got and do the best that he can and trying to get that culture started, culture of whatever it is he likes to have in his culture, effort, determination, dedication, however he wants to word it, and let that manifest itself. And basically, you're right. Michi will be back. Who knows if Gigi Jackson will be back?
Yeah, he won't be. I think he'll be gone.
There's going to be some others who'll probably leave. He's got to obviously go out and recruit and bring in talented players.
He's got some guys, Corn, that he's got to recruit some more guys. But I like the guy that was at Florida, that's out west, that he signed, Boyles, because that guy, if you look, he's playing national teams and putting up a good bit of points. Good bit of toughness, a big guy. And so I think he's just got to continue to add and build the right way. But I think people that are looking at it, I don't think it's a lack of effort. I just think they just don't have the talent. The one little part
there's a little bit of lack of effort out there. There's a little bit of time to time. I don't think they get the consistent hard effort all the time. You can't tell me Gigi Jackson can't get you 1 rebound in a game. Is that effort? He's not standing. Is he standing outside? Now listen, I didn't get there until about 4 minutes to go. So I missed 98% of the game.
Now, I watched the game last night, Corn. One of the things with him last night was when he started turning it over so quickly against them. Because remember, Mississippi State, for as bad as they are, is one of the better defenses.
True.
When he started turning it over so quick, they sat him down. He didn't play as many minutes last night as he played in the last 3 or 4 games. So he wasn't really out there for long stretches of the game because Mississippi State, the way they play defense, they were getting into him and getting into Michi, that's the one thing they do well.
They are very good defense, very good at turning you over. Hank, we got to turn you over. Thank you, man. Appreciate it very much. Great hearing from you. I just got a text message from Mr. Harbor. He apologized. They've had a conflict. They've got to go to his son has a yearbook photo session beginning at 7:00 tonight. He was not aware, so he wants to reschedule. So going to try and reschedule for tomorrow night. So hoping to get it done tonight. But hey, you can't interfere with a yearbook photo session tonight.
I'm not trying to tell the yearbook staff how to do their job, but you had him there in front of a huge audience on National Signing Day. Why wouldn't you have taken all the pictures you could have possibly wanted then?
Good question. Yearbook, I mean, this is like your senior picture, right? You're going to be dressed up in a coat and tie and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure that's probably what they have going on. That's okay. We'll give them tomorrow night. If all works out, we'll try to arrange them for 7:30 tomorrow night after Mike Morgan. That means in our next hour, we'll bring you what Beamer had to say and what Sweeney had to say and what Riley had to say. And we'll touch on some of these other signing classes from around the state. I've been compiling them here. course, we'll hear from Tim Beck. Tim Beck, the Coastal Carolina coach. We'll hear from him as well. So the entire next hour dedicated to what happened today around the state on National Signing Day number 2. And Chris, you are headed off to dinner.
Actually, I'm going to hang around a little bit longer.
Okay.
The team's still practicing, so as long as I hear balls bouncing on the court, I'll hang around. But I'm not missing Louisiana food. I can promise you that. You guys are great, but not that great.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. There's a place in New Orleans that we went to. We were down there for the championship called the Louisiana Purchase, I think was the name of the restaurant.
I like it.
Just good old Louisiana country food. Oh, it was outstanding.
If you've never been out here, folks, they're not lying. The food out here is as good as you have heard.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll hit the break and come back with a full hour in just a moment.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The FBI has searched President Joe Biden's Rehoboth Beach, Delaware home as part of its investigation into potential mishandling of classified documents. Bob Agnew reports.
Biden's attorneys say agents did not find any classified documents during the Wednesday search, but did take some handwritten notes and other materials relating to Biden's time as vice president for review. The search followed up a top-to-bottom review of Biden's Wilmington, Delaware home on January 20th. That's when agents located documents with classified markings. It also took possession of some of his handwritten notes. Bob Agnew reporting.
The Federal Reserve extended its fight against high inflation Wednesday by raising its key interest rate by a quarter point, its 8th hike since March. And the Fed signaled that even though inflation is easing, it remains high enough to require further rate hikes. At the same time, Chair Jerome Powell said at a news conference that the Fed recognizes that the pace of inflation has eased, a signal that it could be nearing the end of its rate hikes. More and more jobs are opening despite fears of a recession. Correspondent Rita Foley reports.
The labor market is hot, and it's staying hot despite the Fed's efforts to slow it down as it fights inflation. There were 11 million jobs available in December, up from November's 10.4 million. In all of 2022, employers created 375,000 jobs a month, the second most in Labor Department records dating back to 1940. And bosses are likely continuing to hire, according to a survey by the data firm FactSet. It indicates employers likely added another 185,000 jobs in January. I'm Rita Foley.
Wall Street liked what it heard. The Dow was up by 6 points. The Nasdaq rose 231. The S&P advanced 42. Oil down $2.02 to $76.85 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
How long does it take to tackle a home project? With Angie, you could cross it off your list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need, indoor or outdoor, repair or redesign, and we handle the rest, sending a top pro to get it done. You don't have to lift a finger, except to tap the screen or click the mouse. Plus, Angie is free to use. So bring us your next home project, and we'll bring it home. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
Up to 500,000 workers have gone on strike across Britain in the biggest day of industrial action Britain has seen in more than a decade. International correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports from London.
Thousands of schools are closing some or all of their classrooms. Train services are paralysed and delays expected at airports as teachers, university staff, civil servants, border officials and train and bus drivers walk out of their jobs on the same day. The mass strike marks an escalation of disruptive action across multiple key industries. Unions are stepping up pressure on the government to demand better pay as wages fail to keep pace with soaring inflation. Charles de Ledesma, London.
Europe's inflation rate has dipped at the start of the year, giving some relief to consumers, but still leaving them facing higher prices. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy and cooler with a low dipping to 43. Tomorrow, we'll warm up to 55, but bring the umbrella for the afternoon as we'll get showers carrying into the night. For Friday, morning showers continue. Things start to clear out in the afternoon, setting up for a nice Saturday. Much cooler, though, with a high of just 45. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, got to move quickly here. In hour number 2, we begin by saying hello to everybody and goodbye to Chris.
Yeah, it sounds like the dinner bell's starting to ring down there on the basketball
Ding,
floor.
ding, ding,
Like
ding.
I said, I'd hate to miss a good meal here in Louisiana. I don't get this. And so I will bid you adieu and talk back to you guys again tomorrow night here from Louisiana Monroe, 5.5 hours up to Jonesboro, Arkansas for Arkansas State on Saturday.
Nothing like a good old-fashioned Sun Belt basketball trip.
Isn't it great? I will say this has been a fun road trip, though. As I mentioned, very rare you see a professional wrestler that Cliff Ellis actually recruited on your flight. It's awfully rare. So that was fun yesterday, and should be a good basketball game here tomorrow. Coastal's got to find a way to get off the snide a little bit. So important game,
Absolutely,
for sure for them.
We'll talk to you in advance.
So good.
Thank you very
Look
much.
forward to it, guys.
Okay, buddy.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
Chris.
Have a good night. Enjoy that meal. Chris Bergen from down there in Monroe, Louisiana. Okay, back to matters here. And we begin with South Carolina coach Shane Beamer. He met with the media this afternoon, a little after 2 o'clock. Want to wait and make sure the Nick Harbor situation was in the books, which it was. And so here is some, not all, some of what Shane Beamer had to say to the media this afternoon.
Absolutely fantastic day in Columbia for a lot of reasons. Obviously excited about the 2 young men that signed today, Nick Harbor and Elijah Caldwell, both 2 great players, and really excited about those 2 guys to go along with the group that signed in December. You know that we are really excited, obviously, about this group that we just put together, and it was already a pretty special signing class before today, and then to be able to add to it today with 2 great players and 2 great young men as well. We certainly got better as a football program as well, and just continues to generate more and more excitement and more energy about this program. The number of text messages I have on my phone right now from 2024 recruits that are texting me with excitement over the news today tells you everything you need to know. So couldn't be more fired up about those 2 guys. I know you guys will have questions about both of them, and we'll talk about them certainly in regards to Nicholas Harbor. Want to thank Coach Fry and Coach Brown and our track program. Obviously that Nick was not choosing a school unless he had a track program and a football program and an academic institution that could allow him the opportunity to accomplish all of his goals. And he certainly feels that way about us, and huge thanks goes to a lot of people, but especially, our track program and what they're about as well. So a lot of great going on in our program right now. In so many ways, our football team, the way they're working this off season, it's as much as I enjoy being on the road recruiting, which I have been the whole month of January. It's I'm glad it's a dead period here now where we can really jump into our current team and our players, the way they've been working in the weight room, and they're excited and they're hungry as well. Moving forward, off-season workouts are off to a great start. Academics are off to a great start, and couldn't be more excited about spring practice starting up here in about a month and a half or so. So with that, any questions?
Shane, obviously looking at Nicholas, he plays all over the field in high school. Where do you guys project him onto the field once he gets here?
Yeah, he's a guy, when we first started recruiting him, Sterling Lucas was heavily involved with him because we saw him as a defensive end pass rusher. And then as it went more and more down, Jody got involved with him because we saw him as a tight end. And I think my conversations with Nick as recently as yesterday afternoon, it was more that wide receiver world, not that he wouldn't be doing some tight end type things, but, he's an elite athlete, and he doesn't need to be he doesn't need to have his hand in the ground blocking defensive ends 50% of the time. I mean, we need him out in space running routes and catching the football. So there'll certainly be some tight end elements that will or tight end aspects that he'll, take advantage of and utilize. But we see him more in space on the perimeter, more in a receiver type role. And he does too.
Shane, can you just kind of take me through the emotions of what today was like, and when you see Nick put the hat on and announce and sign and do all that, what were the emotions like after what was probably a whirlwind hours?
Yeah, the last 24 hours, really the last 12 have taken years off my life, I think, to be honest with you, Colin. First of all, there's a lot that I shouldn't say overcome, but there was a lot going on here with his situation and the schools that were recruiting him and the opportunities that those other programs presented on and off the field, the track, whatever it may be. So there was a lot that we were in a battle. And next door up in the team meeting room, we have our core values up there, and compete is one of them. And we competed our butts off with this one. And like everyone that we recruit, emotion wise, I felt good about Nick all along. I really did. Had an amazing home visit with him last week up in DC that we didn't walk out of there till after 11 o'clock at night when we visited with he and his family last week. Felt really, really good. I mean, he hadn't told me he was coming, but I felt great about where we stood all weekend. I talked to him multiple times on FaceTime Monday and yesterday. Went to bed last night feeling good. I got a message from him, audio message or whatnot at 2:57 a.m. today that wasn't good. And obviously didn't sleep after that as well, laying in bed trying to figure out what's going on and whatnot. And then this morning has been just a range of emotions back and forth, trying to answer some questions. And I think for Nick, it was real. I don't want to speak for him, but I think he all along felt most comfortable here and wanted to be here. It was just, a lot of people that in his network everybody was trying to get on the same page. And there was a lot coming at him too, as a young man as well. So the emotions for me were certainly a whirlwind today, back and forth, good and bad. But see him put that hat on was I'll be honest with you, a pretty emotional moment for me. Justin King asked me if I needed some privacy before he wanted to film me. And I told him no, but in true Justin fashion, he was lurking outside my office and then came in there as soon as he announced as well. But I think it's just the emotion, not just of that, Colin, but of all I met Nick Harbor when I was coaching at Oklahoma, and I went into his high school when he was a freshman in high school. And I've known him since then, know the family, and just knowing what he's about and all the effort that you put into, recruiting somebody. It can be a brutal business from a recruiting standpoint. Great when you get guys, gut wrenching when you don't get somebody that you put a lot of effort into, but there was a lot of emotions. But I also knew that no matter what Nick had chosen today, I knew that we had done absolutely everything, from our standpoint, from a work ethic standpoint, to get him.
Could you elaborate a little bit on just what landing a 5-star does to the perception of your signing class and to what you are building here? Because, over the last few days, I just had I heard a lot of people talking about Nicholas Harbor. So, the fan base is like,
Yeah, no, it's extremely impactful, particularly, when it's a national guy that announces on national television today, like Nick did. It's it resonates not just here in South Carolina, but across the country. People are talking about this, and like I said a minute ago about the number of 2024 recruits that are reaching out to me right now, seeing just looking at Twitter, the amount of people nationally, people that don't even talk about that cover recruiting, just sports writers in the national media talking about South Carolina football right now. It's great positive or great publicity, so much positivity and energy out there about South Carolina football right now. And then you're right. I mean, I've got a ton of text messages from recruits, but then just a ton of text messages from family, friends, whoever, as well about it. So it's, I don't think you can put it into words. It caps off what was already an elite signing class in my mind with the group of young men that we've already brought into the program that signed in December.
Like so many of these kids, Nick's relationship with his mother very close, and that moms carry a lot of weight. Your relationship with the parents, from talking to them, the dad, they seem very high on you. How did you develop that? In fact, he mentioned Boomer several times, how the mom loves your dog, and how did you
my
develop
kids,
that
I'm
over
trying to
time?
figure out how to break it to my own children that Boomer's about to move to Maryland to go live with Nick's mom as well. That was part of the deal. So that'll be a conversation tonight at dinner, I guess, with my family. I don't know. I don't want to pat myself on the back and say just by being myself, but the word that comes up all the time here with our staff, and I've said it before in here probably, is just genuine. And that's what we were. And like I said, I started recruiting Nick when I was at Oklahoma, but didn't really get to know his family until I came to South Carolina. But they're awesome people as well. Dad was a great soccer player as well, and just a unique family with just an awesome background. And that's what you love about recruiting. One of the things I love about recruiting is there's a lot of things, but one, when you deal with families like the Harbors, I mean, they're about the right stuff and they're fun to be around. And we had a awesome official visit, other than the way we played that day when he was here, but we had an awesome official visit weekend with them, and the dad's just fun to be around. The mom is fantastic, and they're the same people throughout the process. And yes, mom does love Boomer. When he was here on his official visit, they came to my house on Friday afternoon and had lunch and spent a couple of hours over there at the house. And his mom and my dog Boomer really bonded at lunch. And that was the first thing. I walked into the home visit last week in DC, and the first words out of his mom's mouth were, "Where's Boomer?" Not "Hi, coach," not "Welcome to DC," not "So glad you're here." "Where's Boomer?" So that kind of told me how I ranked on her pecking order, but it was enough for us to get him.
There's no sense dancing around this. I mean, as this thing was playing out, there was a lot of stuff around the country about money being thrown left and right, and this offer, and kind of a bidding war going on for Nick Harbor. And obviously, when one side loses, they think the other side bought him, and vice versa. So how do you address people out there, fans out there, who want to say, with players of this level, that now it's a bidding war for these guys, and the highest bidder ends up winning, even though his dad said, there was no price on his son, and money was not an issue here when it came down to the end.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, there's recruits out there that it does turn into a bidding war in a lot of ways. I won't dodge that. That wasn't the situation in this one. And I know the losing side, it's kind of time tested or time universal that's what everyone says, but that never came up in my conversations with Nick at any point. Now, let's be real. This is an elite athlete that, wants to be a doctor one day as well. I mean, this young man's got a lot of opportunities in front of him. And there's certainly things that, we discussed as far as how South Carolina can help him reach his potential in every area as well. But nothing that, when I go home and I see my wife and children tonight and I look myself in the mirror, I'm 100% proud of our character here in this program and how we did things as well. And that'll never change.
All right, Shane Beamer comments today. All of his comments, the whole thing's up on the website, SportsTalkSC.com. We're going to hit the break and come back with more recruiting news for you. Little Tim Beck from Coastal Carolina. And then we'll hear from Dabo Sweeney and also from his new offensive coordinator over there at Clemson, Coach Riley. Have that for you coming up in the last half hour of Sports Talk as we continue this National Signing Day number 2 of 2023. Back in a moment.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company, then talking to you, and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you. I find out what your case is about. Jim@JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim@JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
All right, give you the recruiting report from today and then some Tim Beck as we bring you the recruiting report. For those of you watching us on the stream, you're going to see a little Nick Harbor in action, both as a sprinter and as a football player. And the recruiting report, of course, brought to you by Seawells. Don't forget the daily luncheon buffet at Seawells for you every day, Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. It's only $13. It is a great, great deal. It's better than any NIL deal that you can get. This is an EAT deal, an EAT deal, only $13. And for the best in the catering business, make sure you give Seawells a call. You got something coming up, and you need somebody to take care of it for you. Seawells at 803-771-7385 online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. So, catch up on a couple things. Xavier Hardy, longtime USC commitment, signed with East Mississippi Junior College. He had committed to USC last August. He stuck with that commitment though his academic situation prevented him from signing in December as well as today. He posted last night he eventually plans to get to Columbia, but he's got to go the junior college route first. USC today did sign receiver Elijah Caldwell of Northwestern. Clemson's in the Final 7 with receiver Alex Taylor of Greensboro, North Carolina. He was there for the junior day last weekend. NC State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, Penn State, and Cincinnati also on the list. Also, I've seen some talk that Walker White, quarterback out of Arkansas, Clemson is after visiting Clemson this past weekend, might be ready to announce on Friday. Haven't seen anything from him about that, so something to keep an eye on. Aiken receiver Braylon Staley was offered by Tennessee. Tennessee offered 2025 defensive tackle Amir Adams of Lake City. Clemson target linebacker Sammy Brown was offered by Florida State. Now, taking a look at some of the other signing classes for Coastal Carolina, we're going to hear from Coach Beck in a moment. So, they signed out of Miami running back Javin Simpkins. From West Florence, wide receiver Bryson Graves. From Cocoa, Florida, quarterback Blake Boda. He's 6'4", 175. From Niceville, Florida, offensive lineman Joseph Hansen, 6'5", 290. From Loganville, Georgia, offensive lineman Marlon Corey III, 6'5", 285. From Germany, for Raj Tatikpina, 6'4", 300. Tatikpina from Germany, 6'4", 300. From McDonough, Georgia, defensive back Legend Doggett. And he is out of Iowa Western Community College. Okay. And then center Evan Jumper out of Myrtle Beach, 6'4", 280. He's transferring from Furman. Kendall Carr, 6'3", 250, tight end, who is transferring from North Carolina. Abraham Timoni III, a cornerback out of Sumter High School, transferring from Erskine. Kane Barong, 6'4", 245, tight end out of Hartwell, Georgia, transferring from Notre Dame. Bryson Summers, 6'5", 310, offensive lineman, transferring from Sierra College. Defensive end edge, 6'3", 260, Carlos Hatcher, a transfer from Tulane. Michael Mason, 6'3", 270, defensive lineman from South Florence, a transfer from Wofford. And we've got, for Coastal Carolina, Clinton Anakwuru, defensive lineman out of Richmond, Texas, played at Kansas, played at Louisiana, and played at Independence Junior College, 6'4", 260. Will Whitson, 6'5", 270, defensive lineman out of Cincinnati from Independence Junior College. Trelon Slade, 6'2", 180, defensive back from Powdersville out of Fork Union Academy. Nathan Thompson, 6'5", 325, offensive lineman from Conway. Scott Saylor, 6'1", 195, quarterback out of Carolina Forest. Michael Cagoni, 6'3", 285, offensive lineman from Hopewell Junction, New York. Wyatt Gideon, 6'1", 235, linebacker, Avon Lake, Ohio. Spencer Kishbaugh, 6'3", 210, linebacker, Berwick, Pennsylvania. Derek Maxey III, 5'11", defensive back from Atlanta. Dairo Melendez Jr., defensive lineman from Miami. Matt Sishiat.
You can do it. Good luck.
Matt Sishitano, 6'4", 280, defensive lineman, Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania. Lawrence Sullivan Jr., 5'10", 185, defensive back out of East Mississippi Junior College. And that is it. Here's a few comments from Coastal Carolina coach Tim Beck, and let him talk for a few minutes about the class. Good-looking class, a lot of players, a lot of different places. Here's the coach.
I want to thank the staff. Got a bunch of guys coming in here and hitting the road, and man, it was crazy to say the least. This recruiting has really become different now with transfer portals and mid-semester guys. You have spring 1, spring 2. You have high school guys. You have walk-on guys. It's been really, really fluid. It changes constantly, and again through our recruiting staff and our coaching staff, just being able to adjust and adapt. My hat goes off to them. I mean, I really do appreciate them, and this is a tribute and a cultivation of all their hard work and the time that they put in together to be able to do this. I love our class. I think we signed 13 guys, if that's correct. Let me see. I can get my notes here. Yeah, we signed 12 guys offensively and 13 defensively currently right now. 10 of those 25 guys are currently here, already enrolled. And so we signed another 15 guys. There are a few still out there at this point that we're still in recruiting battles with and or have not announced or won't announce until tonight or later in the week as that goes on. But really excited. We got a good mix of high school players. We got a good mix of local players. We got a good mix of grad transfers, portal guys. And I think we had an opportunity to get and address a lot of the needs, create depth, some experience, everything that you can ask for in one class in about a month's time. So I'm very, very excited about this class. So with that, I will take questions.
By my count, and my math skills might not be the best. Looks like your top 2 positions by volume were O-line and D-line. Was that by choice, design, or just a positive good luck?
A little bit of all, really, to be honest. I felt like we needed to create some depth and create some position numbers at the bandit position. So and defensive end position, those positions took a hit with graduation and or portal guys And so that was kind of an area of need. You could never have enough offensive linemen, never. I think it's one of the areas that if you can get quality young men to be able to come in and help your program, you need to take them. Depth is always an issue. And so I feel like we need to do that. You know, losing a couple of guys here and there along the offensive line, trying to replace those needs was also something we needed to do.
All right, Tim Beck, head football coach at Coastal Carolina, getting his first full class in and doing what appears to be a pretty good job. I mean, he's got some high school guys, got some transfers, got some junior college guys. That's what happens in your first year when you come in December and you're behind from that standpoint. You just got to piece together who you can get, who you think's good enough to play for you, who you can win with, but also who wants to come and who fits certain needs. So that is Coach Beck. On the other side, we'll give you more of the signing classes and also hear from Dabo Sweeney and Garrett Riley on this National Signing Night edition of Sports Talk. Back after this break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy and cooler with a low dipping to 43. Tomorrow, we'll warm up to 55, but bring the umbrella for the afternoon as we'll get showers carrying into the night. For Friday, morning showers continue. Things start to clear out in the afternoon, setting up for a nice Saturday. Much cooler, though, with a high of just 45. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
You've seen the news. You've talked to your friends. You may have even looked around yourself. Home prices are nuts. Seems like no one is offering any kind of discount, except Lexington Discount Homes. Discount is their middle name. Quality homes that fit your budget with the size, model, and floor plan that your family needs. You can still afford your dream home at Lexington Discount Homes. Augusta Highway near Ballpark Road, 803-951-1900 or LexingtonDiscountHomes.com.
Peters reporting Tyree Nichols' family and friends remembered him with songs of faith and heartfelt tributes, blending a celebration of his life with outraged calls for police reform after the brutal beating he endured at the hands of Memphis police. In the 3 weeks since his death, 5 officers have been fired and charged with murder, and their specialized unit was disbanded. President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have met for more than an hour at the White House, aiming to divert a national debt limit crisis. There was no quick progress on related federal spending action, but the Republican leader called it a good first meeting. It was their first since the GOP leader took power in the House. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 6 points, the Nasdaq rose 231, the S&P advanced 42, oil down to $76.85 a barrel. More details at srnnews.com.
Loyalty is an important quality, but it's not a given. It's earned. Shooter's Choice has earned the loyalty of people around the Midlands because they have great customer service, tremendous selection, and they've been the local guys for more than 30 years. And that should matter to you. If you're looking for the right firearm, ammo, AR accessories, even a gun safe, visit the folks at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. This is where you'll find the experts, the folks that actually shoot, they hunt, or visit a big box store where you'll never see the same person twice, where their only expertise comes from watching some YouTube video. Shooter's Choice has the top brands. They offer classes to make sure you develop proper safety technique and skills. Most of all, they offer the best quality products at fair prices sold by good local people. If you can't make it to the store, you can visit online, shooterschoicesc.com. They're also on Facebook and Instagram, or they're waiting for you at 944 Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Getting involved in your community is easier than you think. If you can click, you can help. If you can share a status, you can lend a hand. If you can log on, you can give back. Because when you volunteer virtually with AARP, you can help your community without even leaving home. AARP has all kinds of opportunities to get you started and will provide the support you need to make it easy and fun. Your community needs volunteers like you. Get involved at aarp.org/volunteer here.
Hi, honey. How was your first day back at work?
Well, that slip and fall sure did cause me some pain and discomfort. And this swollen ankle is no fun. Thanks to True Pharmacy, the day wasn't a complete waste.
I'm so glad they were able to get you all set up with your ACE bandage wrap and even a set of crutches.
Yes, who knew you could rent your crutches from True Pharmacy?
And they even have wheelchairs to rent and sell. That's good information to know in case we ever need it for our parents as they get older.
I'm so glad we found True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, West Columbia and Divine Street.
Everyone seems to be hiring these days, but are they good jobs where there's potential for growth? What about on-the-job training and competitive wages, including health insurance and a 401k plan? Professional Printers is looking for their next star. They're a local printer with 2 locations, 130 employees, and a national clientele. If you've got a good attitude, want to learn some great skills, and work in a positive environment, reach out on proprinters.com or apply in person at 301B Greystone Boulevard.
All right, stand by. We got Dabo Sweeney, Garrett Riley coming up, but it's National Signing Day, so I want to give other schools their due and mention their signees. We go to South Carolina State. Aaron Bowens, defensive back from Malden. Jeremy Brown, offensive lineman from West Side, 6'5", 285. Nicholas Brown, tight end from Kingstree, 6'3", 225. Malcolm Cochran, running back out of Richmond Academy, which I believe would be in Georgia. Amari Davis, defensive lineman out of Clover. Jordan Dollard, defensive lineman out of Guilford, that's Greensboro area. Casey Fields, running back from Buford High School. Oh, he's good. He is good. 5'11", 195. They could not stop him, as I recall, in the state championship game. Jordan Franklin, linebacker out of Georgia, Burke County. Jawarn Howell, Mooresville, North Carolina, running back. Nigel Johnson, receiver out of Crestwood. Kanan Liggins, offensive lineman, Ridge Spring, Monetta. Jalen Linder, receiver out of Bluffton. Marcus Macon, Northwestern, 6'3", 285. Hunter Puckett, defensive lineman from West Side, 6'3", 230. Tyler Smith, running back out of Barnwell. He had a great year. Cedric Smith, defensive lineman, South Atlanta. Quan Toney, defensive back from Lamar. And if he's from Lamar and he goes to state, he's going to be great. That combination has worked very well over the years. Early signees, Keyshawn Toney, tight end, transfer from USC. Oh, okay. So Keyshawn Toney, he went from USC to UTC, is now at South Carolina State out of Williston-Elko. Malcolm McGee, defensive back, transfer from Alcorn State. And Aiden Weber, linebacker from Delaware State. Those are the early signees, transfers to South Carolina State. Okay, where are we going to go next? Benedict signed Lucas Wynn, kicker, out of Powder Springs, Georgia. Curtis Smiley, defensive lineman out of Goose Creek. Caden High, receiver out of Loganville, Georgia. Josh Barker, defensive lineman, Kennesaw, Georgia. LaVare Brown, offensive lineman from Goose Creek. Ajay Brown, offensive lineman, Plant City, Florida. Aquantus Clemens, defensive lineman from Atlanta. Bryce Bowens, quarterback from Atlanta. Marcellus Livingston, transfer from Erskine, defensive lineman. Gerard Washington from Hocking College in Fredericksburg, Virginia, cornerback. Marcus Samuels from Westside in Jacksonville, Florida. He's a cornerback. Antoine McCray from Westside in Jacksonville. He's a wide receiver. Achon Durant, terrific running back from McCormick. Tavarius Daniels from Franklin Pierce University. Kendall McCoy from Gardner-Webb, transfers. Carvon Gurley from Iowa Western Junior College, offensive lineman. Oh, I should mention Didn't mention those positions. He's an offensive lineman. McCoy was a quarterback from Gardner-Webb transferring. Daniels was a safety from Franklin Pierce transferring. I think I said Durant is a running back. Okay, let's hit up. This is North Greenville. Timmy Castaigne, and this is going to be hard to read because they're all on their Twitter, and it's in very small print. So it looks like I'm just going to have to be able to do the names and positions. Defensive lineman Timmy Castaigne, offensive lineman Adam Banashevitz, defensive end Nick Maxey, running back Nazekiel Mays, linebacker Jaquin Williams, wide receiver Jaquay Green, wide receiver Aiden Brantley, kicker Nate Spearman, offensive lineman Ethan Lett, offensive lineman Takavion Lanier, quarterback Aiden Bird, defensive back Justin Copeland. Now, I think that's it for North Greenville at this point. And let's see. We got time to do Newberry? Newberry. Wide receiver Jashawn Copeland from Clinton. Tight end Desmond Mathis from Fort Dorchester. Defensive back Colby Small of Lancaster. Wide receiver Nathan Schusler, Carolina Forest. Wide receiver Jeffrey Jackson of South Aiken. Defensive tackle Amonte McCray from Cross. Wide receiver Shaquall Good from Newberry. Sorry, the printing's very small. Offensive lineman Lawton Clamp from Travelers Rest. Hang on a second here. I got messages in the way. We got cornerback Kareem Good from Emerald. All right, for Newberry, we've got Keyshawn Brown, defensive back from Travelers Rest. Also, quarterback Campbell McCurry from Somerville. Also for Newberry, defensive back Austin McGee from Greer. Offensive lineman James Mosley from Woodland. Cornerback Clarence Simmons of Woodland. Also, offensive lineman Cameron Newton from Lower Richland. Linebacker Jaquari Williams from Denmark-Oler. Punter Jacob Lusk from Walhalla. Athlete A.J. Jackson from Mid-Carolina. Linebacker Grayson Goley from St. James High School. And that is what they have for Newberry. All right, let's go to Dabo Sweeney. Dabo Sweeney, Garrett Riley together. First time Riley has talked to the media. Here is Sweeney. Had no recruits to talk about. Then again, Riley, probably his biggest recruit since the end of last recruiting campaign back in December. Here's Sweeney.
Great fit for us. I think that he is, one of the bright offensive minds in the game. I think he's a great fit for Clemson. He's a great fit for me. He's a great fit for our personnel. Philosophy-wise, we really match up. I mean, he's people sometimes he gets labeled as air raid because that's kind of his background. But if you study him, they've run the football. Sometimes when you think about air raid, you think about not running the ball. And they had 1,400 plus yard rusher last year, and they've done a great job in running the ball. But I have no doubt he's gonna make us better offensively, and I think we can help him, grow and continue to mature and get better as well as he navigates his career. So it's a great fit and a great opportunity, and again, great timing to bring him on board. And with that, we'll open it up and take some questions from you guys.
Just wanted to get your thoughts on Cade and just, I know you recruited him out of high school. What your thoughts now, what you've seen on him on tape, and what you can do maybe next year with him?
Yeah, I think he's the full package. I've known of Cade and known Cade for probably about 3 years now. Recruited him while he was a young pup there at Austin Westlake, and the great career he had at the high school level. But yeah, I think, he's very skilled. He's very talented, but I just think between the years, the way he carries himself, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that, that's kind of the magic with Cade Klubnik, and so I'm very eager and anxious to get to work with him. We've just got off the road and hadn't been able to do a lot with him or see him too much. But I know that kid's foaming at the mouth, just like the rest of our players. And trust me, we as coaches are ready to get going with them too.
Here, Matt Conlon with all three. I think you said this morning that this offense will be a lot different than the TCU offense, or at least somewhat different. Just how do you kind of believe in adapting to personnel and kind of doing what fits them?
Yeah, to me, that's the whole deal. Listen, I'm not a coach that has a ton of pride in certain plays, and we're going to run this just because I love it. We're going to figure out what our guys can do and what we feel like is going to make us the best offense possible, to position our team, to win games. And that's my job, and that's our job. So, yeah, it's going to be totally adaptive to, what we have, what we can handle, and what we feel like is going to give us the best chance to win. That's it.
Is your involvement in the offense going to be about the same as usual? Any changes there?
Won't be any different. It's been for 14 years. I've been involved for 14 years and not just offense, defense, special teams, recruiting, staffing. There's not one area that I'm not involved in. So, excited about a change. And again, this is my 6th offensive coordinator since I've been the head coach, and look forward to, again, continuing to learn and continue to get better and definitely add value, where I can add value and help where I know I can help.
Yeah, but you mentioned scoring, but were there other specific aspects of the offense?
Yeah, just pass. We got to get better passing the ball, period. We got to be better. If we're better throwing the ball, we're going to, I think we've got really great foundation from a run standpoint, but we got to get better throwing and catching, and I think he's going to really help us there, and we got to be better on pass defense too. So those are the 2 areas that we got to really improve this year, and if we do, we'll like the results.
Coach, watching your slideshow presentation this morning, and talking about never wanting expectations to exceed your appreciation, I feel like a large part of the fan base needed kind of a realignment of that perspective.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to all that stuff, but it's there, right? And then especially when you got all kind of stuff coming at you from different sides. And we've won 3 national championships in 127 years, and some problems is we've won 2 and 7, so sometimes that can create a loss of perspective. And I think when you lose perspective, you lose your joy. And I think that's what's made Clemson unique and special. Is this place has always had a lot of fun. And you guys that have been around here back in February of 11 when we signed that class and we had that signing day, if I would have said to all of y'all coming off of 6 wins right there, hey, here's what's fixing to happen the next 12 years, Pete. I know we hadn't won 11 games in 31 years, but we're going to go do it 8 times in 11 years. I know we hadn't won 10 games in 20 years, but we're fixing to do it 12 years in a row. I know we hadn't won a national championship since 1981, but we're going to go to 6 Final Fours. We're going to win 2 national championships and come with an onside kick and winning another one. And we're going to win 12 straight postseason games, 12 years in a row. Nobody's ever done that in college football. Oh, and by the way, we're going to graduate 98% of our guys, and we're going to have 13 top 15 recruiting classes in a row. Y'all would have all looked at me like I was crazy, and the Clemson man would have said, hey, well, sign me up for that. All right. And it's not that we've been perfect every year, and we're never going to be perfect every year. But, man, we've had a lot of joy in the journey. And I think when you lose perspective of that and how hard it is, it's like, again, when we won the ACC championship up there in Charlotte in 11, there were 5,000 people at the West End Zone. It was unbelievable. Couldn't even get off the bus. 5,000 people. Now, there ain't nobody there. Now it ain't no big deal. And I think that's sad. I get it. I spent 13 years at Alabama. I know. And I've always, wanted to make sure that I kept the right perspective, that I stay focused on my purpose, that this stays a purpose-driven program, that we don't lose focus on our why, that we don't ever lose joy in our journey. And because that's part of my responsibility as I lead a group of people, a lot of people in these walls here. And it's been an incredible journey. And, God doesn't give us that, right? Like he doesn't just say, hey, here you go. Here's the next 12 years. You just put your head down and God just gives us just enough light to take that next step, right? and we just kind of keep going. A lamp unto your path, right? Just enough light so you don't stomp your toe going to the bathroom, right? So, I mean, our program's never been better, ever. We're off to a better start this decade than we were last decade. But again, sometimes people can lose perspective, and we've raised the bar here. We've changed the standard. We've changed the expectations, and I love that. But as we strive to meet and exceed those expectations every single year, we got to keep the right perspective, and we got to have joy in the journey. Just because listen, things can happen, right? I mean, something can happen. You can be a great team, but maybe you don't win the national championship. That doesn't mean your team wasn't committed. That doesn't mean you have a lot of character. That doesn't mean you didn't. People work their butts off around here, and we all want to win every single game. But there is no, triumph without some great failure or challenge or setback or whatever along the way, right? It's always a part of your journey, and it's all good. And man, you start over every year and you go to work. But man, what's happened in this program the last 12 years is it's historic, and it's been done by a lot of people. All I've done is my part. That's all I've done. But man, these players, the staff, all the support staff that have come through this program for years, and what's going on here, 12 years of 10 plus wins. Alabama's had 15. The next longest streak is 2. And for us to, act like we're a bunch of failures around here because we only won 11 and won the league, and we lost our rival in state for the first time in a decade. I just think that's a bad mentality, And if you're, again, 3 national championships in 127 years, and we Final Four, it's hard to get there. We'll forever be the only team that's went to 6 Final Fours in a row. That ain't ever going to happen, right? Because it's going to change next year. So it's hard. It's really hard to win. Everybody's got good coaches. Everybody got good players, but the consistency that we've been able to have here on and off the field it's incredibly rare. It's incredibly unique, and we focus so much on what we don't do, and instead of what we do. And you learn, you get better, and you grow. From each and every season, you make changes when you need to make changes. You keep learning, and so that has served us well, and hopefully, moving forward, we can, kind of again have a reset, and not have a bunch of miserable people out there if we don't go 15-0.
Woo! Clemson fans, do you feel like your pants were just pulled down and you had the little the switch taken to you there a little bit? Little lecture? He's exactly right. Not just Clemson fans. I mean, all the fans of the spoiled programs. They don't make the national playoffs, then it's a rotten season. And that is a terrible way to look at it. But that is the system that I shouldn't say you, Sweeney, but football has created. Coaches, athletic directors, whatever. I guess it's athletic directors and presidents. That's the system that's been created with the playoffs the way it is. The mindset becomes, especially the teams that go all the time, you don't make it to the playoffs, it's a crap season. If you haven't made the playoffs and you win 8 or 9 games and you go to a bowl game, hey, that's still a good run. But if you're a regular visitor to the playoffs and then you have a dry run there, then people complain. He's exactly right. And they don't deserve that. He's still got a great program. Elite. Well, what do you consider elite? Elite's the teams that are, I guess, making the playoffs pretty much every year. We'll see what happens this year. If Clemson doesn't make it for a 3rd straight year, don't think you can put them in that elite category. But we'll see what happens. Now, it's going to get softer, of course, when they expand the playoffs and everybody gets in. That's going to make it a lot easier. It's like old Eddie Fogler used to complain about people complaining about not making the NCAA tournament. And he was accurate when he would say, well, look, you got 68 out of 350. And he was a math major, so he'd cite you the stats. You got 68 out of 350 making the NCAA tournament, and you got, 60 out of 128 making a bowl game. So, who's got more pressure on them? The college basketball coaches do. That's who. So anyway, let's run to the break and come back and give you a few more of these signing classes that we can get to as we wrap it up here on National Signing Day number 2 for the 2023 recruiting campaign. See, we can do Charleston Southern coming up. Try and get you try to get you Presbyterian here as well. And we'll be back after this break.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit PlayResponsiblySC.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in South Carolina. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the SCHSL and the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association.
Okay, back on Sports Talk. I just got confirmation from a source in Arkansas that, Walker White is going to announce on Friday, the quarterback out of Arkansas, and it does look, at this point, pretty positive for Clemson to get him. And apparently Art Briles at Arkansas didn't show a whole lot of interest in him. The new OC there kind of late to the party for him. And so he had Arkansas and Clemson were two of his top schools. Looks like Clemson may be about ready to land their 2024 quarterback here by the end of the week. Okay, let me hit a few more of these signees for Charleston Southern, the first class there for Coach Giardina, Coach Gabe Giardina. And it's defensive back Eshawn Arnold, Covington, Georgia. Defensive back Champ Brantley, Forsyth, Georgia. Defensive back Arthur Lee Brown, Warner Robins, Georgia. Tight end Tyler Glover, Fayetteville, Georgia. Running back Tyson Greenwade, Dalton, Georgia. Defensive back Malik Ori from Hanahan. Running back Octavius Eisen, Riverdale, Georgia. Linebacker Amari Jenkins from Timberland. Wide receiver Noah Jennings out of Westwood. Defensive lineman Cam Johnson from Seneca. Wide receiver Jaquez Kendall from Tampa. Quarterback Zoltan Osborne, he of the big hair, from Fort Dorchester. Defensive lineman James Pisano, First Baptist. Offensive lineman Taylor Smith out of Snellville, Georgia. Defensive back Leon Thomas, Stockbridge, Georgia. Linebacker Julius Walton, Carrollton, Georgia. That is it. Charleston Southern. Let's go to, North Greenville. Oh, we did North Greenville. Did I do North Greenville? I did North Greenville. Let's go to Presbyterian. Presbyterian. Here we go. Receiver Jermichael Ambrose, west side of Augusta. Offensive lineman Zion Atawala, Coconut Creek, Florida. Receiver Kumani Benaby, Fort Lauderdale. Linebacker J.J. Coleman, Matthews, North Carolina. Offensive lineman Marcelo Coleman, Jacksonville. Linebacker Lawton Cox, Johns Creek, Georgia. Defensive back Thompson DeFames, Naples, Florida. As you can tell, I'm not real good on names. Wide receiver Jacob Deller out of Charlotte. Defensive back Keith Elmore, Somerville. Defensive back Willard Farrell, Miami. Punter kicker Constantine Gaddis, Christchurch. Offensive lineman Jacob Gardner, Baxley, Georgia. Defensive back Jakari Jeter, Lawndale, North Carolina. Defensive lineman Jake Gruel out of Folsom, California. There's a prison out there, isn't there? Quarterback Colin Hurst from Davie, Florida. Linebacker Zihar Jackson from Portugal. Athlete Chris Johnson from St. Joseph's. Linebacker Raymond McCray from Fayetteville. Kicker punter Mackenzie Miko from Noonan, Georgia. Defensive lineman Kenneth Oduba, Gastonia, North Carolina. Athlete Jalen Patrick, Hepzibah, Georgia. Defensive back J.T. Patton, Mount Holly, North Carolina. Linebacker J.D. Robinson of Legion Collegiate. Receiver Frankie Santiago, Melbourne, Florida. Athlete Hunter Satterfield from Dixie. Offensive lineman Landon Sauls of Myrtle Beach. Defensive lineman Jacob Thornton of Orlando. Defensive back Jamil Tucker of Raleigh. Linebacker Jalen Turner of Clearwater, Florida. Defensive lineman Gabe Whittington of Bradenton, Florida. And that is that for Presbyterian. Okay, I think we've hit the ones who've been announced. We'll look for more for tomorrow. Pick back up on things with you tomorrow. Get some rest. Time to dive into the 24 class tomorrow. Thank you, Pat. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with you.